In Colorado, 8 people were injured after a man used what officials are describing as a makeshift flamethrower as he attacked a group of people marching for awareness of Israeli hostages being held by Hamas. Authorities are investigating the assault as an act of terrorism. Joining us now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York. Mr. Leader, thank you for joining us. A lot to get to, but let's start right there with the moment, with this attack, heinous, hateful attack in Boulder that, of course, comes just 2 weeks after the shooting in Washington, D.C. That killed 2 staffers at the Israeli embassy. I know this is deeply personal for you. Just your thoughts here about this rising tide of anti-Semitic violence.
Well, you know, the Jewish people across America and all Americans should be horrified, and we are in great pain. This is only 2 weeks after the horrible shooting in D.C. and a few months after the Jewish governor's home was firebombed right on a Jewish holiday. This occurred on the Jewish holiday of Shavuos, which celebrates God giving the Torah to the Jewish people. It's just awful, awful, and there's just so much both pain and anger in our community about what is happening. This was an elderly group of people who were simply marching to free the hostages. As I understand it, they didn't take positions on the details of the Middle East, just free the hostages, and this was done in a vicious, nasty way. Unfortunately, as we have seen, it's not an isolated incident. And when anti-Semitism, which is on the rise in America dramatically, 70% of the religious hate crimes have been committed against Jews in America in the last year. We're only 2% of the population. When anti-Semitism rears its ugly head, it just can lead to terrorism and violence, as we have seen, if it is not fully rebutted by every quarter in society.
And certainly we'll be watching for developments here as we learn them today as the investigation continues in Boulder. Leader Schumer, let's turn now to the Republican legislation that passed the House, now heads to the Senate. As you're well aware, there have been some GOP voices objecting to elements of it. Give us your sense, and in particular, these cuts potentially to Medicaid, which we, as you just heard, we played Senator Ernst's, shall we say, unorthodox defense of over the weekend.
Yeah, that was kind, unorthodox. But in any case, the bottom line is simple. This bill is not big and beautiful. It is big and ugly. And the bill that came out of the House was even worse than what we had anticipated. Take health care, which you mentioned. It will not only greatly slash Medicaid, causing hospitals to close and thousands, probably millions of people to be laid off, but it will also now raise health care costs for many others. Tens of millions of Americans will have their health insurance rise dramatically because of the cuts that were made. And it's infuriating, and it's doubly infuriating. The cuts are bad enough, but to do them and to give the money that they so-called save in front of to billionaires and wealthy people, where a disproportionate amount of these tax breaks go, is outrageous. And so we Democrats are fighting this on every front. We're not backing down, we're doubling down. And the more the American people learn about this, and particularly the new changes, the more outraged they will be. Abe Lincoln said it right. Public sentiment is everything. And I guarantee you Republican senators will be hearing the outrage from their constituencies.
So, Senator, we have so much to get to. Let's just quickly bounce around again. Yesterday, Ukraine launched a truly stunning attack deep inside Russia, delivering one of the most significant blows of the war. It comes, of course, as the Ukrainians and Russians are set to meet this week in Istanbul for the next round of peace talks. So with what happened over the weekend at the front of mind, what are your thoughts about what President Trump should be doing in terms of this conflict? We've yet to hear from him on what Ukraine did over the weekend, but we know at times he has been sharply critical of President Zelensky and unwilling to really punish Putin for not taking a ceasefire.
Well, you know, he seems all over the lot. One day he praises Putin, the next day he criticizes Putin. He's not made it clear that we're in Zelensky's corner. I hope on Ukraine the president's not the taco president. Trump always loses the fight. Trump always cops out, is what TACO stands for. And what we should be doing, we should be much tougher on Putin. There's a bill in the Senate led by Lindsey Graham, one of Trump's great allies, who's getting fed up, I think, even with Trump on this issue, that would impose really tough sanctions on Russia. Putin's a bully. Unless we're tough with him, he is going to continue to wage war on Ukraine. He viciously kills civilians. The move that Ukraine made was brilliant yesterday, but it was aimed at military targets. Some have called it the Pearl Harbor of Russia. The only way he understands toughness. So we have to, number one, do these sanctions. 85 senators, I believe, including myself and Senator Thune, are co-sponsors of this legislation. And we also have to make sure their air defenses are strong and we supply them with the military needs they need to fight back.
So Senator Elon Musk is sharing his opinions on the Trump administration in a new interview that aired over the weekend. The billionaire and Tesla CEO spoke with CBS Sunday Morning and at first said he wanted to keep the subject on spaceships, but then he began to talk about his time at the White House, sharing that he does not always agree with everything the Trump administration does.
Wondering what your thought is on the ban on foreign students, the proposal. I mean, you were one of those kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to stick to, the subject of the day, which is like spaceships, as opposed to, presidential policy.
Oh, okay. I was told anything's good, but...
No. It's not like I agree with everything the administration does. So it's like I agree with much of what the administration does, but we have differences of opinion. There's things that I don't entirely agree with. But it's difficult for me to bring that up in an interview because then it creates a bone of contention. So then I'm a little stuck in a bind where I'm like, well, I don't want to, speak out against the administration, but I don't want to. I also don't want to take responsibility for everything the administration is doing.
So he says he's in a bind. Yeah. The American people are in a bind because of what Musk did. His Doge, which didn't do as much as he wanted it to do, but still did huge amounts of damage in terms of the firing of employees, the decimation of agencies like healthcare, like going after making sure drugs and food is safe, nuclear energy is safe. The FAA we need to bolster, and I believe they put a freeze on it. They didn't hire new people. Over and over again, what Musk did with his Doge is going to cause lasting damage to the American people. And just saying now he's out of the administration and he's in a bind, that's ridiculous. He ought to be apologizing to the American people for what he has done if, for some reason, he sees the light. I don't know if he does or not, but that's what we need, an apology and him to tell Trump to undo the damage that he has done.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. We appreciate it. We'll be watching what happens there on Capitol Hill. And